This conference will now be recorded.
Fine. In today's class, first we will start with data flows. We will understand what is data flows, how to create the data flows. And once after creating the data flows, once after understanding the data flows, and then we will understand about incremental refresh, then row level security. Incremental refresh. We'll talk about incremental refresh, and then we'll discuss about row level security. Row level security. So these three topics we're going to discuss in today's class. Let's start with data flows. Let's start with data flows. So data flows is available in which software? Power BI service software. Power BI service. And they are used for what purpose? And they're used for doing the ETL activities. And they are used for performing the ETL activities. You can call data flows as data flows is a browser-based ETL software. Data flow is a browser-based or web-based or web-based ETL software. Browser-based or web-based ETL software. And I said that data flows can extract the data from any data source. Data flows can extract the data from any data source, almost any data source, and can transform the data using GUI options, and can load the data into Azure Data Lake, So the transform tables, Azure Data Lake will contain transform tables now. So we'll extract the tables, we'll transform the data in the tables, and we'll load the data into the Azure Data Lake. Now Azure Data Lake contains transformed tables. Azure Data Lake contains transformed tables. The transformed tables we can use in preparing the data set. These transformed tables can be used in preparing the data set. Preparing the data set. So if you see here in Power BI desktop, we'll prepare a data set. If you see in Power BI architecture, we'll prepare a data set in Power Pivot. Now we are bringing the data from OLTPs, right? So along with the OLTPs, you can even bring the data from where? Data flows. So whatever the data you loaded into the Azure Data Lake, you can even use those tables for preparing this data set. So when you want to use the data flows is, sometimes in many data sets, I want to use the same table. Take an example, product table is there. Just example I'm giving. Product table is there. Product table I want to use in many data set. One is I have a manufacturing data set. I want to use this product table in manufacturing data set, and there is a marketing data set. something like this marketing data set. So in the marketing data set also, you'll be having product table and sales data set is there. In the sales data set also, you will have this product table. So while preparing the three data sets, so there is one team where they are analyzing the manufacturing related data, how many units we manufactured, so for each product how much amount we are spending, all this. So for marketing there is another team where they are analyzing the marketing data for each product, how much money we are spending for marketing. There is a sales data set, other team is analyzing the data where they are understanding about how much sales we received, each product wise sales got. In all these three tables, product table is mandatory. Let's assume so product table is available in the OLTP system. Every time while preparing the three data sets, here I will be preparing the three data sets. So each people will prepare their own data sets. Every time I need to bring the product table to the Power Query. Here, take an example. I want to do some 15 ETL steps in the product table. Just an example. So while preparing the manufacturing data set, I brought the product table here, product table, and I performed 15 ETL steps. I loaded the table. I prepared a first data set one, manufacturing data set one. So same way, another developer also, he need to go to the source, he need to bring the product table, he need to perform 15 ETL steps, he need to load it, and he need to prepare a marketing data set too. And another person also, he need to go here, he need to bring the product table, he need to perform 15 ETL steps, and he need to prepare a sales data set 3. And on top of these data sets, people are creating multiple reports. We know that on top of data sets, we'll create multiple reports. On top of reports, we'll perform multiple dashboards. We'll create multiple dashboards. Tomorrow, so in the product, a change is required. A new ETL activity is required. When a new ETL activity is required, you need to open all the data set. You need to open data set 1, you need to open data set 2, you need to open data set 3. You need to make the changes in all the data sets. You need to add one ETL step there. Instead of that, what you people can do is, so I can write like this. When you want to go with data flows, if a part of ETL code, if you want to use in many data sets, if there is any reusable ETL code which you want to use in many data set, if you want to use an ETL code, in many data sets, instead of individually doing that, use this ETL code, do this ETL in data flows, and that output you used in all the data sets. That output you used in all the data sets. If you want to use an ETL code in many data sets, keep that ETL code as part of data flows. Part of data flows. The result of data flows used in all the data sets. The result of data flows used in all the data sets. All the data sets. So let's understand it. So now the same product table, this time what I will do is I'll preparing the three data sets separately individually. I don't go to the source, I don't bring the product table, I don't do 15 ETL activities, I don't load it, I don't do all this in three data sets separately. So I'll go to Power BI service, I'll bring that product table to the Power BI service, and in the product table I'll do the ETL activities, and I will store the table in Azure Data Lake. I'll store the table in where? Azure Data Lake. Whenever I want the table for preparing the data set, can I use the table for preparing the data set 1 here? You can use the table for preparing the data set 1. You can use the table for preparing the data set 2. You can use the table for preparing the data set 3 also. Tomorrow, when you want to change, I don't want to go to all the three data sets. I don't want to make the changes. Where I will change it? So data flows I will change it. In data flow, I'll change it. When you change it in all the three places, it will automatically change. Let's create a data flow now. To create a data flow, you need to log into Power BI service. Let's log in. app.powerbi.com. Let's create a new workspace here. Let's create a new workspace to avoid the disturbances, to avoid the confusion. I'll give the workspace name as data flows, incremental refresh, and row level security. I'm giving a name, data flows, incremental refresh, and row level security. Click on save. We have a workspace created. Welcome to data flows, incremental refresh, or row level security. When you scroll down, you have an option called what? Skip. When you skip, this is the project folder. These are the subfolders. How to create a data flow? Go to create, click on data flow. Click on data flow. A data flow will be created. So we are creating the data flow. Go to create. So data flow, what it need to do is, now where is the product table? SQL Server. It's an on-premise data source. From here, I want to extract the data. You need what? Gateway. To extract the data from on-premise data sources to Power BI service, we need a gateway software. Fine. So define new entities, nothing but bring the tables. Bring the tables. Click on add new entities. Entities are nothing but tables. Click on this. You want to select from, I said that almost you can bring the data from almost any kind of data source. Almost. Now this time I want to bring the data from where? SQL Server. Let's provide the server name and database name. SQL Server. I want server name and database name. Let us take the server name. I'm giving the server name, and I will even provide the database name here. Provide the database name, and to bring that from where I need, which gateway I need to use. I have installed a gateway here. That is what, 8 a.m. March 2020. I have a gateway. So this gateway can access the data from Sunil laptop. This gateway can access the data from which laptop? Sunil laptop. Each server, each machine you need to have one gateway. So this time SQL Server software is installed in whose laptop? Sunil laptop. So this gateway can access it. So to access this database, what credentials I'm using? I'm using Windows credentials. You want to give server name, domain name, server name slash username. It is Sunil. Username. If you see, while connecting to database, I'm using the same. So username is like this. Username is like the server name slash Sunil. I want to give my Windows password. When I give all this information, I need to click on what? Next. If every information is correct here, you will be able to open this server. You will be open to open this database. When you open this database, what you can see in the database? Tables. In the database, see here, username is what? Server name slash Sunil. Same one I am using here. To connect to the database, the Windows authentication I'm using, server name slash Sunil. When I click on connect, I can connect to the server. Now click on next. You need to click on what here? Next. When you click on next, it will open the database. It will show list of tables in the database. Let it open. Fine. That server contains how many the database contains how many tables here? 4 tables. Which table I want? It's up to us. If you want multiple tables also, you can even take multiple tables also. You can even bring multiple tables also. If you want only one table, you can choose only one table. So this time it is similar to Power Query. Believe me guys. In Power Query also you'll bring multiple tables from data sources, right? We'll transform the data here, right? We'll load the data to PowerPoint. Same thing. Same thing here also. So tell me, it is looking like Power Query only, right? So when you open it, so let me select only product data. Click on what? Transform data. When you click on transform data, just observe. So on the top, what it is showing? Power Query, edit queries. So it is similar to Power Query. Power Query in cloud. You can even call it as data flows as Power Query in cloud. You can even call data flows as Power Query software in cloud. Power Query software in cloud. Power Query software in cloud. Let's go here. And you are seeing what options, how you are seeing the options in Power Query, same way are you seeing this or not? Yes. Let's go and do some transformations here. So if you want any transformation, let's take an example. I want to convert the product name to uppercase. When I want to convert the product name to uppercase, select the column and look for the option. You will not see same options but almost same. Transform. So you have an option called what here? Format. Click on uppercase. Like this, you can transform the data. You can transform the data. Once you are done with transforming the data, in Power Query, we will click on close and apply. Close and apply to load the data to the Power Pivot. To load the data to the Power Pivot, there we will click on close and apply. Here you need to click on save and close. Save and close will load this table to where? Azure Data Lake. ADL, Azure Data Lake. Let's click on save and close. So you can give the data flow name, demo data flow for 8 a.m. March 2020. I'm giving just a name, demo data flow. Copy this, paste it here, click on save. Once you save this, my data flow is ready now. My data flow is ready here. Fine. The option you are seeing in the last is incremental refresh. You can refresh it. You can even bring the data to this table. When I go to the data flows now, a table will be there here. To refresh this data flow, you need to have a gateway through which it will refresh the data. Through gateway. Already we assigned a gateway connection. You can even schedule refresh it. It will always bring the data from SQL Server and it will store in Azure Data Lake. It will transform the data. It will store in Azure Data Lake. Let it refresh. Let me open. Meantime, let me open Power BI Desktop. Can I use this table? Can I use the table which is there in the data flow while preparing the data set? Yes. So this time I want to prepare a data set, sales data set. In the sales data set, I'll use 3 tables from SQL Server. And another table I will use from where? Data flows. Another table I will use from data flows. So 3 tables, get data, I'll bring from where? SQL Server. So I'm preparing a sales data set. 3 tables I will bring from SQL Server. Let me give the server name. And database name is optional. Press OK. Product database. I don't bring product table. I'll bring customer table, sales table, time table. If required, I'll transform the data and I'll load the data to where? Power Pivot. Along with these 3 tables, I want product table also. This time from where I will take the product table? Data flows. I'll take the table from data flows. I'll go to the data flows. I'll bring the table from data flows. If you want to bring the table from data flows, what you need here? Get data, Power BI, data flows. Power BI, data flows. So with which user I logged in here? User 10. In which workspace you have that data flow? In this workspace. Who have the access to that workspace? User 10 have the access. When user 10 have the access, can he access the data flow? User 11? No. No. This data flow can be accessed by only user 10 for now. If user 11 want to access the same data flow, give the permission. Give the permission. Now, it is not showing here, right? So let's go with another option here. Get data. More. There is another option called. So let me click on data flows. So Power Platform data flows is there, right? Let's go with data flows. So both are the same. Sometimes you are not able to see here. You select this connection. Click on connect. Click on connect. Oh my God. Workspaces. Expand it. Second one, right, second one. I'm able to see it, right? So this one, how many data flows you have? Only one data. When you explain data flow, what you will see there? Tables. When you have many tables, you can even see many tables. Which table I want? Product data table. Can I load it into Power Query now? Yes. So I said that while preparing the data set now, you have the table here, you even have the relationship between them. Okay. So while preparing a data set, you can use OLTP systems and data flows as also source data flows. Now you can create the data set and you can create the visualizations like this product table I will use in 3 different data sets. Whatever the product table I have in the data flows, I will use in how many data sets totally? 3 data sets. Tomorrow when a change is required, I don't want to go to Power Query in 3 data sets. I don't want to make the changes. Where I can make the changes? Data flows. The transformer data will come to all the 3 data sets what we are creating. 3 data sets what we are creating. Like this, you want to create a data flow, you want to use the data flow. Anybody have questions about data flow before we go to next topic? Anybody have any questions here? Fine. The next one we are going to discuss is what? Incremental refresh. Incremental refresh. Incremental refresh.
Sunil, Sunil, I have
Yes.
a question. If suppose if in Power Pivot we fetch the data flow from Power Pivot, means from data flow we fetch the data as a data set, and if we perform some ETL activities in Power Pivot for that product data, so it
You
will
can do you
reflect
can do
to.
it. If you want to do additional ETL activities on product table, you can even do the additional activities.
So it will reflect to main data set, data
How it will
flow.
reflect? No, it will not go back to the source. Anything which
Okay.
you are doing in Power Query, they will not go back to the source.
Okay. Means it's limited to only Power Pivot or Power Query.
What is
The
that
changes
question?
will the changes will be
Yeah,
reflected
changes
up
will
to.
be limited to that file. Change it will be limited to that data set, that Power BI file.
Okay. Okay, fine. Okay.
Right.
Sunil, where can we view the, in Power Service, where can we view the data in that data flow? I mean, can we view, we'll be able to view that?
Yeah, when you open this, let's wait. uh, Product data, you have an option called edit entity. So it will be stored in Azure Data Lake. Only you can open in the Power Query to do the transformations. When you click on save and apply, it will be stored in there. So might be it is not possible to view the data.
Okay.
Sunil,
Yes.
you spoke about the replication of the ETL steps, right?
Yes.
So I just couldn't understand how we can replicate the thing by using these steps again in the data flow. My
I'm
question
not
is,
replicating it. I'm not using same ETL code again and again in this data set. There is a transformed data in the data flow. The transformed data, I want to use it in many data sets. So the code, ETL code is there in the data flow. So tomorrow, if I individually bringing the product table into every data set here, every data set, tomorrow when other ETL activity, if I want to perform, end of the day, what I need in Power Pivot is a transformed data, a transformed data. So I want additional ETL step in Power Query. So when you have table from the source, when you bring it from the source, when you are doing the ETL activities in 3 different data sets, when you want to perform an additional ETL activity, you want to open the 3 data sets, you want to go to Power Query, you want to add one ETL step there. Instead of doing that many times here, I'm telling that take this table into the data flow, perform the 15 ETL steps, and the result of the data, use it in data set. Tomorrow, if you want additional ETL step, you don't want to perform, you don't want to open 3 data sets, you don't want to do the additional ETL activity in Power Query. This time that additional ETL activity will be performed in where? data flows. That result will be used in all the 3 data sets. Instead of doing this ETL activity in 3 different data sets separately, where we are doing it, a data flow, that result can be used in data sets. It's not a code, it is the data, output of data from these 16 ETL activities. Output of, see, always in the PowerPoint I want data. So this 16 ETL activities data I want it. Tomorrow when you want one more additional ETL step, again you don't want to open three data sets, you don't want to do additional ETL activity work. Where you will add that additional ETL activity? Data flows. The result where we will use it? In the data sets, like this.
Well, that was not my question. My question is, you mentioned about the 15 plus ETL activities, right? How do you reuse those 15 plus? Because if you are looking at a production kind of an environment, new data sets keep coming in, and the old ones you don't use unless until you are at the end of the year. So how do you do that? You reuse those 15 ETL steps?
I'm not using ETL steps. I'm using the output of that 15 ETL steps.
Sunil, I got that point, but my question is, how do you use those 15 plus 1 ETL steps again and again, month after month? Do you have to repeat them every time you get new data, or is there a provision where we can reuse those steps?
I don't want to repeat it again and again. This is a data flow
I
which
know,
contains.
I get it. But if I want to repeat those 15 plus ETL steps again, is there a provision? That is my question.
Yes, you have a provision, right? You have a provision. When you go to the advanced data, what you can get it? When you go to the advanced data, let's click on edit. Advanced data will give you complete M code of that 15 steps. Copy the 15 ETL steps, reuse it.
Okay, thank you. That was my question.
You can reuse this code. Only thing you need to change is source information. All this, if there is 15 ETL steps, now I have only few steps. It is showing only few steps. Tomorrow when you have 15 ETL steps, where you can find the complete M code, advanced data, where you can reuse it.
So you copy the code there and then paste it into a new editor?
Yeah, right. See, when you go to the Power Query here, so let me explain in the desktop where you can get advanced data. Copy this, copy the code. So same, there and here it is same. Right click on it, new query. This time you want to select this query as blank query. Go to the advanced data of this blank query. Remove this, paste this code. Done. You can use the 15 ETL steps code. This is the output of that ETL code.
Thank you.
Fine.
Sunil, is there any limit on the data of, the table in the data flow? Any limitations kind of thing there?
So there is no limitation in the point of rows. In the point of rows, might be in the point of data. So based on the workspace, so based on the license we have, so there will be limitation. So when you prepare a data set here, when you have pro license, how much size of data you will have it here?
Yeah, 10 GB.
10 GB data set. Might be there is a limitation in the data flows with data size based on the license you have, but not with the number of rows.
Okay.
Let's perform incremental refresh now. First, we'll try to understand what is this incremental refresh, why we need to implement it, So usually the data in the data set can be refreshed in 2 different ways. Let's wait. Let me close this file. I don't want this. So we'll prepare a data set in Power Pivot and we will move that data set to a Power BI service. If you see here, so when you prepare any data set, I'll bring the data set to here. So when you go to any other workspace here, you'll have multiple data sets here. So on top of the data sets, you have multiple reports. If you want to show up-to-date data in the reports, you want to refresh the data set. So when you refresh the data set is for what purpose? When you have a data set here in Power BI service, on top of data set, we might be creating the multiple reports, report 1, report 2, report 3, like this. So when you want to bring the up-to-date data into this data set, so at the time of creating the data set, what data we have in source, only the data will be loaded to the Power Pivot. When you publish that, only the data will come to the data set. Only the data will shown in the reports. After 10 days, the data in the data set will be get outdated. So if you want to bring up-to-date data in the data set, I need to go to the source. I need to bring the data. Let me show here. So let us create a data set here. Open Power BI desktop. Open Power BI desktop. This time I'll create a data set on so click on get data. I want to bring the data from SQL Server. Click on SQL Server, provide the server name, and I'm not providing the database here. So I'm selecting which database this time? AdventureWorks Data Warehouse database. So I'm taking dim customer table and dim underscore product table and fact internet sales and fact reseller sales. I want these 4 tables to prepare the data set. Click on load. 4 tables data will be loaded to the Power Pivot and establish the relationship between the tables. It might take establish the relationship between the 4 tables and take an example. I have the proper relationship between all these tables. I have a proper relationship. So and then go and enhance the data model. Go to data view. Go to calculations and create what new information you want. Once you are done with that, I'm done with preparing the data set. So how can you move this data set? I want to create multiple reports on top of this data set. How can you move this data set? First, you want to save this and you want to publish this. Save it as incremental refresh. I'm just giving a name, incremental refresh. Click on save. When I save this data set, can I publish it to Power BI service? So it contains huge data. It might take some time. So almost previously we deals with KBs only. This contains how much DB data? MB data, 3.06 MB data. Let me click on publish. So we created one workspace today, right? Let us publish to that. Where you have this. What is the name I given here? Data flows. Data flows, incremental refresh, RLS. Let's publish to that. This data set will move from desktop to service. When it move to service, can I create multiple reports on top of it? Yes. So we got published it. I can create multiple reports on top of the data set. So when data set is there, where is this man? Oh, right, incremental refresh. When the data set is there, I can even create the report in service, right? So you can create the report. So let's create a report quickly here. Just one sample report, actual size. I want product wise sales. Expand this. You have English product name, and there is a sales in fact internet sales table. You have sales amount column. Track the sales amount column. So can you save this report? Click on. There is this save. I can give the report name as a sample report. Sample report. Click on save. Now I share this report with my client. I share this report with my client. When I share this report with my client, after 1 week, my client is opening the report. He's seeing the same data. When he want to see updated data, what he need to do? You need to go to data sets. You need to refresh it. To refresh it, what you need? You need a gateway. So already I have a gateway. When I go to settings, when I go to manage gateways, I installed a gateway already. The gateway name is 8 AM March 2020. I have a connection for AdventureWorks data warehouse as well as product database. Which connection I need to use to refresh it? AdventureWorks data warehouse 2016. I want to use this connection. How can I give that connection? more options, settings, gateway connection. You want to on this, you want to assign the connection. Fine, I assign this connection. Take an example. Once after assigning this connection, when I refresh, there are two types of refresh available. One is full refresh, another one is incremental refresh. How many types of refresh we have is types of refresh we have. So one is full refresh or full refresh or full load. You can even call it as full load. So default one in Power BI is this. Default one in Power BI is what? Default one in Power BI is what? Full refresh. What is that full refresh? When you do full refresh, what it happens? The second way you can refresh the data set. So which we are planning to refresh here? So we are planning to refresh the data sets. Which connection I need to use here? Adventure Works data warehouse. When I select this, when I scroll down, I need to click on apply. Now when I go to here, when I go to the data set, am I able to refresh now? Yes, you can happily refresh it. So this by default refresh is a full refresh. To bring the data, this data set contains 4 tables. That 4 tables we are bringing the data from SQL Server. To bring the updated data from that 4 tables from SQL Server to this data set, we are using this refresh or schedule refresh. We already discussed refresh and schedule refresh. We are using it. So by default, when you refresh or schedule refresh, by default, it is full refresh. I'm telling that it is full refresh. Full refresh means what it will do is, as soon as you click on refresh, you have 4 tables right here. In 4 tables, it will truncate the data. Truncate the data. Truncating the data means it will remove complete data in the 4 tables. And then it will go to the source. It will bring complete data and it will load complete data. It will load complete data. Understand full refresh means? So how many tables you have in the data set? All the tables data will be truncated and it will go to the source. It will bring the complete data here. Sometimes to bring the complete data, it might even take 1 hour of time. Instead of taking that much time, I want to complete my refresh quickly. Then you want to go with what? Incremental refresh. Understand full refresh here? Default refresh. If it is not taking time, go with full refresh. No issue with it. If it is taking 10 minutes or 15 minutes of time to refresh the data set, no issues with full refresh. When it is taking hours of time to refresh the data, so when you refresh the data, then only you can show updated data in reports and dashboards. If the refresh is taking time, instead of full refresh, I want to go with incremental refresh. Incremental refresh. When I click on refresh, sometimes it will take hours of time to bring the complete data. Now, instead of bringing the complete data, this time, take an example. I have 4 tables. So dimension tables usually will not contain huge volumes of data. Customer table is there, it does not contain complete data. Huge volumes of data. Product table is there, it might not contain huge volumes of data. So this kind of tables, you can leave it for full refresh. You can leave it for what? Full refresh. When you leave it for full refresh, what happens? It will remove the complete data. It will bring the updated data. It doesn't take much time. And here also, you can leave it for full refresh. Customer table also, I am telling that, but you will not have much data here. Leave it for full refresh. When you leave it for full refresh, what happens here? I can truncate and bring the data. But when it comes to sales table, let's assume I have 20 years sales. How many years sales I have? 20 years sales. In this 20 years sales, totally I have 100 million records. 100 million records. So what is the need of deleting that 100 million records every time? What is the need of pulling the 20 years data again? For the first time, load 20 years data. From the second time you are refreshing, just refresh 10 days data. Just refresh how many days data? 10 days. Instead of 20 years, when I refresh 10 days, will it increase the speed or not? Right? So when you think that the table is having huge volumes of data, only configure incremental refresh for those tables. You don't want to configure for all the tables. Wherever you have huge volumes of data, 20 years data, instead of refreshing 20 years data every time, I will just refresh last 10 days data. This is nothing but incremental refresh. How to configure this incremental refresh? We'll see. Tell me, When you refresh 20 years, if it is taking 1 hour of time, when you refresh 10 days, will it reduce or not? Yes, that is what we want to do here. That is what we want to do. That is nothing but incrementally pulling the data. Incrementally pulling the data, not complete data. So what are the types of refresh you have is full refresh or full load. Another one is incremental refresh or incremental load. Incremental load. Incremental load. Incremental load. Incremental refresh or incremental load. So you want to configure it. Default one is Power BI. To do the full refresh, do you want to do anything? No, default one is full refresh. To do incremental refresh, we need to configure. Let's assume a data set is there. Data set is there. Usually data set contains what? How many tables I have? 4 tables. You don't want to configure the incremental refresh for all the tables. So which tables have huge volumes of data? Huge volumes of data. Configure for those tables increment. Configure for those table. Configure incremental refresh. So which tables have huge volumes of data? For those tables, configure incremental refresh. Let's see how to configure the incremental refresh. Let me open one document here. Fine. So full refresh, when it is not a problem, is if the data set is small or refresh process is not taking a longer time, then full load is not a problem at all. So when you are refreshing the data, if it is not taking much time, when it will not take much time, when data set is small, it will not take much time. When either data set is big or the refresh process of data set takes longer time, better to configure what? Incremental refresh. Incremental refresh means instead of bringing 20 years data, bringing 10 days data will improve the performance. So when you perform incremental refresh are faster, refresh are more reliable, and resource consumption is reduced. So these are the advantages you have with incremental refresh. So requirements to perform incremental refresh on any table, if you want to perform incremental refresh, what are the requirements is the table should contain what column? Date column. The table should contains a date column. If there is no date column in the table, can I perform incremental refresh? No. So if you want to perform incremental refresh, mandatorily the table should contain a date column. Any date column like order date column, ship date column, or due date column, or last update date column, any date column. Data source should support query folding. Second point you want to remember is data source should support query folding. The meaning is data source means what? From where we bring the data into Power BI, we call it as what? Data sources. Data source should support query folding means you should be in the position to write a query on the source and it need to give the data. It need to give the data. Excel files will support queries? No. Can we perform incremental refresh on Excel files? No, impossible. So SQL Server will support queries? Yes. Can we perform incremental refresh on SQL Server? Yes. Oracle can support queries? Can I perform incremental refresh here? Yes. Excel? No. Keep in mind, if you want to perform incremental refresh, if you want to configure it, if you want to configure the incremental refresh here, data source should support query folding. So how can you understand whether that source is supporting query folding or not is, go to Power Query software, home tab, click on transform data. So go to any table here. When I select fact internet sales, you have ETL steps, right? Right click on the ETL step, you'll see an option called what here? View native query. So when you are able to see this option, for sometimes this option will be grayed out. If you see here, let me bring a table from Excel. So Excel, desktop backup, source files, sample superstore. When I bring the orders table, will you see that option? Will not see that option. Will not See that option. So when you are bringing the tables from files, when I go here, view native query is what here? Grayed out. So when I go to the fact internet sales, when I right click on it, view native query, what is the query it is going to fire on top of database? You can see here. This is the query it will fire. It will bring the data. So when you are able to find the query on database, when you are able to bring the data, can you perform incremental refresh on those tables? Yes. So let me delete it. I don't want it for now. You can even take it, no problem. So I don't want it to avoid the confusions. Click on close and apply. So keep in mind, guys, if you want to
hold on a second, please. Why you could not do the incremental refresh on Excel sheet in the orders, even though it had the date field
even
present?
though when it have a date column, usually incremental refresh, what it will do is in Power BI service, when you publish the data set, it will do the partitions. It will do the partitions. So it will try to write the queries to the source. So for each partition, it will write a query. It will try to write the query to the source. It will try to bring the data. In Excel, whatever the queries it is going to write, they design the incremental refresh in such a way that so it will split into multiple partitions. Multiple queries will be fired on source. It will bring the data into the Power BI service. So the incremental process, what Microsoft is designed in Power BI, so it want to fire the queries, it want to bring the data to improve the refresh speed. Excels, it is not possible to write the queries. It is not supporting for Excel for now. So if they are not firing it here, so incremental, see, if from here I want to pull only last 10 days data instead of complete data. Here I can write a where condition where the order date is less than last 10 days. Then only you can bring updated data. Here I cannot write it, right? So where condition I cannot write it. I cannot pull only the data. Incremental refresh means from source itself. I want to bring only last 10 days data. I want to write a filter query here. Here I cannot write a filter query. I cannot bring the data.
So it is predefined what sources you can do this native query.
Yes, it is predefined. It is limited with few sources. And one more thing, Satish here. So we don't need incremental refresh on files. Thing is, files will not contain huge volumes of data. Files will contain less volumes of data. It doesn't even take much time. You are simply asking this question for answer you. Files will not contain huge volumes of data. No need of incremental refresh for files. Even full refresh will not take much time.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Fine. Any other questions?
In any Sunil, so in every organization they are using full load for Excel files and on other files source.
Yeah, if it is a file, there is no doubt you want to go with full load only. There is no other option.
Okay.
Yes. End of the day, our requirement is to the data set. Here the data set I need to refresh quickly. Files will not contain terabytes of data here. Very limited data you will have. Bringing them to the Power BI service will not take much time from the files. Fine. So now we'll see how to configure the incremental refresh. Requirements to perform incremental refresh, we understand it. We understand it. So incremental refresh policies are defined in Power BI desktop, and when they will be applied is when you publish to Power BI service, those will be applied. Let's see how to configure this incremental refresh now. To configure the incremental refresh in Power Query, you need to create two parameters. One is range start and range end. These two parameters are reserved words. It's a case sensitive and reserved words. If you give in different case, they will not work. You want to create two parameters, range start and range end, exactly how you are seeing here. Those are reserved parameters, case sensitive names. Okay, these parameters with the reserved and case sensitive names. Let us create the two parameters in the Power Query. How to go to Power Query is home tab, click on transform data, and click on transform data, we'll go to Power Query. So how to create a parameter is go to the home tab. You have an option called what here? Manage parameter. Manage parameter. When you go to here, you have an option called what? New parameter. What is the first parameter I want to create is range start. Range start. So you can write any description to this parameter. Control J. You can write any description to this parameter range start. So type, select any this data type. So data type, this is nothing but data type. Usually the data type should be date and time. So let me cancel this first. So I want to perform the incremental refresh on a column. Go to the fact internet sales. Just look at the column. Do we have a date column? In the fact internet sales, do you have a date column here? You have what? Order date. Let's take an example. I have orders from last 10 years. For the first time when I load it, I want to load all the 10 years data. From then, I want to refresh only last 10 days orders. I want to refresh only last 10 days orders. So now I want to perform the filter on order date. So let's create the two parameters here. Manage parameters. Click on new parameter. The parameter name is range start. Description, data type is date and time. So go with suggested value as any value. So if someone doesn't know how to create a parameter, so in Power Query to create this parameter, I'll discuss for 20 minutes of time. So some people know how to create it. So in Power Query, I'll clearly discuss how to create the parameters. So current value, you need to store some value here. Let's take an example. I want to load here. I want to give some data. So first it is day. So you have what here? Day. Day is 01 and month is 01 and year is 2011. And not only date, what is the one? It is date time. So let me give the time as 00. That day start time. That day start. This is the default value. This is the value which will hold in this range start parameter. I'm giving one value here. So any value can you give, guys? Any value. There is no much importance of this. Just you want to give some value. You will understand. I'm giving range start as 1/1/2011. So you want to create one more parameter. Range start we created. What is the another parameter we need to create here? Range end. I want to create another parameter called range end. How can I create another parameter here? Is click on new. This time it is range end parameter. Range end parameter. And again, this data type is what? Date and time. And go with any value. And date is 31st 1/2011 and time is 0000. Anything is fine. Here range start is from 1/1/2011. It is 31st/1/2011. Press OK. When you press OK, two parameters will be created. Two parameters have some values. There is no much importance of this. So this columns I want to use it in. So where I want to incrementally refresh the data? Fact internet sales table. So based on which column I want to incrementally refresh the data here is based on order date column. Let's go to the order date column. Now once you are done with creating the parameters here, what I need to do is I need to filter the data based on the column. Once I'm done with creating the parameters here, range start and range end parameter, then I need to go to that order date column. I need to apply the filter. I need to apply the custom filter. So and I want to choose the filter is after or equal to range start, is before range end, is before end. So here ensure those are filters where the column value is after or equal to range start and before range end. If you use any other filter combinations may result in double counting of rows. You need to be careful here. So range start, when you are using range start, the one you need to use is after or equal to. For a range end, you need to use what? Is before. To get the only unique data, you need to go with this. If you go with any other combination of filters, it will get what data? Double counting of rows. You will get wrong data over there. So you need to use these filter conditions. Let's do that. So on which column I need to apply the filter? Order date. To apply the filter, you need to click on expand button. So this one, what? Date filters. You want to choose what filters here? Custom filters. In the custom filters, so is after or equal to. I need to go with is after or equal to range start. I don't want to pass a value, I want to pass a parameter. If I want to pass a parameter, expand this, click on choose parameter. What parameter? Range start. And operator. Next one is before. Is before. Here is before, again a parameter here. So this time it is what parameter? Range and parameter. Press okay. Now tell me what data you will see in the fact internet sales. So I'm applying a filter here. When I press OK, what data you will see in fact internet sale? How many months data you will see? Only 1 month data you will see. I'm filtering the data here. Only 1 month data you will see. So when I click on close and apply, so how many rows you got this time? Only 140 rows. In that month, how many rows you have? Only 140 rows I have. So when I click on close and apply, there is no much importance of this. I'll explain that parameters are needed in Power BI service. In Power BI service, for now, when you filter the data, so select close and apply from Power Query, you should have subset of data into the Power BI desktop. What data it will load? Only 1 month data it will load to Power Pivot this time. So another table, we will perform the incremental refresh later. Now, for now, I'll go with what? Fact internet sales. So if you want to perform incremental sales on fact reseller sales, you can use same parameters again. Same parameters you can use. You can go to the column, date column, where you need to perform the refresh, incremental refresh. So if you want to load this, you need to click on what? Close and apply. Once you click on close and apply, the data will be loaded into PowerPoint. Now, next thing you need to do is, you want to go to the table. Let me show here. You want to go to the table, you need to define the refresh policies. You need to define. So here you need to define. First time, what data I need to load. First time when I refresh, what data I need to refresh. Every subsequent refresh, how many days I want to refresh. You need to define the, so whatever you did in Power Query, it is just dummy. It is just dummy. So just to bring the subset of data, we do it. The main actual thing will be now. You need to define the refresh policy now. So how can you define that is, go to the table on which you need to perform the incremental refresh. Now, on which table I want to perform the incremental refresh here? Fact, internet, sales, right click on it. When you right click on it, you will see an option called what here? Incremental refresh. You need to define incremental refresh policy here. So on which table I want to define it? Fact, internet, sales. If you see here, incremental refresh option off. So when I click on is it able to on means yes, you are able to on this. Why? Because on this table we have, when you can on this is when I go here to the fact reseller sales, when I right click on it, you will see what? Incremental refresh. When I try to on this, it is not allowing me. What might be the reason? We don't have start date and end date parameter. This will be enabled only when you have start date and end date parameter filters on the table. Filters on this table. Fact reseller sales does not contain. So fact internet sales, it contains is, go to the incremental refresh, click on the incremental refresh. Below you have the options here. This is the place where I need to define the refresh policy. First time when I refresh, how many days data I want to refresh. From subsequent refreshes, how many days data I want to refresh. This all things we need to configure here. Let me go here. So here first time you have is store rows where column order date is in the last. Let's assume first I want to load always last 20 years data in my data set. How many years data I want to store in my data set? 20 years data. For the first time I want to bring 20 years data. So then this is first time refresh. From second refresh, so for now, when I click on close and when I save this report, when I publish this report to Power BI service, fact internet sales will contain how many months data? Only 1 month data. 1 month data. So if you want to bring the complete data into the fact internet sales, you want to refresh it, right? So for the first time when you are refreshing, what data you want to load? You want to go to incremental refresh. On this, for the first time when you are refreshing, what data we need to load? How much years of data we need to load? You want to select here. I want to load how many years of data for the first time? 20 years. Always the data set will contain only 20 years data. 20 years data. So see here, when you give, it will refresh 20 years data. When I go here, you have one matter here. Let's read this. So when I give 5 years, 10 days, this following examples defines refresh policy to store the data for 5 fully calendar years. So when I give, I'm asking to store how many years data? 5 years data. from subsequent refresh, how many days data we are asking to refresh? Instead of refreshing 5 years data, just 10 days data. Always in the data set, it will store only last 5 full calendar years data. Full last 5 years calendar data. So we are in which year this time? 2020. Last 5 years for this is what? 2019, 2018, 2017, 2016 and 2015. It will store the 2015 from 2015 till today, last 5 years means. When there is any data of 2014, it will delete. It will delete. You need to make sure always in our data set how many years data I want to keep it. If you want to keep 20 years data always, so when you are going to 21-year data, it will remove the old data. It will remove the old data. So this option is nothing but how many years data you want to store it. For the first time, how many years data you want to bring it, or after that, how many years data you want to store it. Fine. This time, usually better to keep a bigger number here. Better to keep a bigger number. The next one is from subsequent refreshes. How many days data I want to refresh? So from that, I want to refresh only 10 days data. When you give 10 here, from first refresh, it will try to bring complete 20 years data. From second refresh, last 10 days data. Send only last 10 days data it will refresh. Then, so when you have a data older than 20 years, will it remove in the data set or will it keep there? In data set, I have data which is before 20 years. Will it keep it or will it delete? It will delete. It will delete. It will delete. If you want to keep a bigger number here. If you want to keep a bigger number. No problem. So usually people will analyze the data on last 5 years only. Sometimes. In that case, you want to keep what here? 5. It will always keep how many years data? Last 5 years data. Last 5 years for us is 2020, 2015 to 2019 is last 5 years data, and last 5 years data and current year data. Remaining options I'll discuss about them. For now, let me keep it 20. I want last 20 years data. First time when I refresh, I want to refresh 20 years data. From subsequent refreshes, I want to refresh only last 10 days data. First, I'll come back and I'll explain these options. Click on what? Apply all. When I click on apply all, we're done with incremental refresh. Now, click on save. Can you save this? Save. I given the report name as what? Incremental refresh. When I click on publish, so it will ask, do you want to overwrite the existing data set? Why? Because there is already a data set. When I click on this, when I click on select, it will ask to replace the existing data set. Replace it. Replace it. When I go here, for the first time when I refresh, how many years data it will refresh? 20 years data. Second time when I refresh, how many days data it will refresh? Only 10 days. First time it will take a lot of time. Second time it will not take much time. So first of all, let us go and give the gateway connection. Where you can give the gateway connection? This is the place where let us open this. Let's give the gateway connection. Let it open. Fine. What is the connection we want to choose here? So this is bringing the data from where? AdventureWorks data warehouse. You want to choose the same connection. Go down. So already it got chosen. No problem. Apply. Go to the data set now. Can I refresh the data set now? For the first time, it will take time, more time. When I click on refresh, this time it will try to bring the 20 years data from the data set. And you can even schedule refresh it. From second refresh, always it will try to bring the last 10 days data, and it will show that it will load the only last 10 days data into the Power Pivot. See, usually in any ETL tools, if you want to do this incremental refresh, you have a lot of things. But in Power BI, everything will be taken care by Power BI tool. You just want to tell that for the first time when I am refreshing, fact internet sales, how many years data I want from subsequent refreshes, how many days data, it will take care how it need to keep the data. When I go here, we're done with refresh. Now, when you refresh this time, how many days it will bring? Only last 10 days data it will bring. Only last 10 days data it will bring from subsequent refreshes. Fine. So there is another option called what? Detect data changes. So instead of refreshing last 10 days data, so take an example. In my table, I have a column called last update date. So in my table, I have one column with the name last update date. Last update date. Last update date. Let's assume this last update date column we are having we are inserting when I change any record here, I'm entering the date. I'm entering the date when I change it. So when you refresh last 10 days data, sometimes in the last 10 days, so all the records will not change. What is the need of pulling all last 10 days data? In the last 10 days also, whatever the records that got changed, where you can see that last update date. There, if you have a column like this, in the last 10 days, by default it will bring how many days data? 10 days data. 10 days if you have 1 million records, if you want to reduce the count, in that 1 million records also, only bring the records which was changed in last 10 days. When you want to bring the records only which was changed around last 10 days, you want to go with this option. This option even help you to improve the performance. So here, if it is refreshing 1 lakh rows, when you go with, it will reduce that number of rows. It will reduce the number of rows. Detect data changes. When you go here, again you want to give a date column here. On that last 10 days also, what data got changed? Only that column. So usually what column you will have here is date modified, last update date. Usually the columns we need to use is in your source. If you have a column called last update date, so where you are tracking, where you are changing the date based on the changes. In that last 10 days also, whatever the records that got changed, only that if you want to bring, here you want to give a date column, last update date. Last update date. I don't have that kind of column from now. I don't select it. If you have that column, so take an example, this due date column is that column. You can choose it. You can choose it. Usually it is a last update date column. The next one is, the next option you have is only refresh complete days. Only refresh complete days. So when you want to choose that option is, let me explain. Detect data changes, even improve the performance. So when you don't select detect data changes, so here what date column you are selecting here? Last update date column. So when you blindly select 10 days, every time it will bring 10 days to try to refresh. In the 10 days also, the change in records are very less. You can go with last update date. The next one is only refresh complete periods. When you want to select that option is, so let's say your refresh is scheduling at 4 a.m. 4 a.m. So it will bring the data till what time? Till 4 a.m. I don't want till 4 a.m. So I want complete day's data. I want complete date data. So 4 a.m. means we are done with, today we are done with how many hours? Only 4 hours. I don't want 4 hours data. I want complete day data in the data set. So if you want only complete, so sometimes in the reports, they will ask you to show such as barrels per day. When you show 4 hours, there is no meaning for that. There is no meaning for that. You want to show what? For complete day. When you want to refresh complete day, so you want to check this only refresh complete days. When I select only refresh complete days, when day 24 hours is completed, only for the day it will refresh. When I click on refresh, when I select this option, when I select this option, when I click on refresh now, will it take 15th March data? Will it take 15th March data? No. Complete day is what? Till 14th March. It will take till 14th March only. When that is the requirement, you can go with what? Only refresh complete days. Fine. So usually there is no much importance for this in majority of the cases. In majority of the cases, these two options are sufficient for us. Click on apply all. Any questions? We are done with configuring it. So once you configure it, once you publish it to the Power BI service, so might be connectivity issues or something, it is completed. For the first refresh, it will take much time. From subsequent refreshes, it will not take much time.
Sunil, I have few questions here.
Yes.
If you want to complete the class, you can complete the class. I'll ask at the end of the class.
Go ahead, Shishir. If it is related to this incremental refresh, you can go with it.
Yes, incremental refresh. Can you go to the incremental refresh screen again?
Refresh policies. This policies.
No, where that last update and
model.
date.
Just wait, go here, click on transform data. Okay.
No,
So fact
no,
internet sales is the place where I'm filtering this.
not this where you are mentioning 20 years and then
Right. Manage parameters.
Range start.
huh?
Range start. Range start. No.
Range start. No, not here.
Yes.
Increase this. What is that? First.
This
No,
is range
20.
start.
You
First refresh, second.
This
first
is range start.
first refresh, and then that 20 years you define.
When I refresh
That,
here, see whatever I said that incremental refresh policies
yeah,
will be defined in
incremental refresh
desktop.
screen. Incremental refresh screen.
Incremental refresh
It is
screen.
available in Power Query. Right click and incremental refresh.
Power Query, where you
Power
can find
Query.
it. It is not in Power Query. Once after loading the data into the Power Pivot, that
Yeah,
option will be
in Power
available
Pivot, right click on the
here.
table and incremental refresh.
Incremental refresh here.
Fine. Okay. This is the
This,
place where I got where
yeah,
I
this is the
came
place.
previously.
Correct. So can you pick up the one which we, okay, here you are having detect data change. To me, it is a very important field, because see what happens. Assume that I am having a scenario of a sales order table. I am raising a sales order to customer A today, and my system update date is today's date, which is captured. Clear? 20 days later, the customer says that I am in need of some extra quantity within the same order. So I will fetch the order, I will change the quantity, and I will again save the same order. So 20 days later, it will capture the system date as a different date, but my order is the same. Are you getting me? So
See,
when
one thing
I'm
here,
doing,
see, if you want to bring the data from 30 days, so order date, 30 days back only, but you made the changes before 2 days or 3 days. Go here and please select last update date here. So here you want to mention how many days data. You can even pull 2 months of data also. When you pull 2 months of data, in the 2 months data also, I don't want to bring all 2 months data. In the 2 months, I want to bring last updated date data only. Then you want to select 2 months here, you want to select last updated date here.
Yeah. So my question is pertaining to this now. When I am saying last updated date, will it delete the old order sitting in my data set and push the
No, it will not. So for now, this is not having that much capabilities. This incremental refresh, recently they got implemented in Power BI, so it is not having that much capabilities. Go read the document, you can even see this for now defined to bring the new changes to the data warehouse only. The existing one, if you have a record like that, incremental refresh will fail. It will fail. And it will give a message that previously I have on record there. So the I have that record in dataset. When it is coming from source, it is not there. Incremental refresh will fail. And in that cases.
Okay. I got you. Thanks.
Right. Fine. So this is all about incremental refresh. So I request you, please read the document thoroughly here. You get this document, you will understand what actually I explained all the things. Just if you are not able to understand what I explained, go to the document again. It is clearly documented here. You can understand the things. Fine.
Sunil, have you shared this document with us?
No. I'll share it now.
Okay.
So when you publish to the service, you can now refresh the model. The first time refresh may take a longer time to import the historical data. Subsequent refreshes can much quicker because they use what? Incremental refresh. So if I want to implement the same incremental refresh this time on fact reseller table, what you want to do? You want to go to the column where you want to incrementally bring the data and order date. So date filters. What happened, man? It is showing only 2 dates. Fine, no problem. So you want to go here. You want to choose custom filters. What are the options you need to choose? So first one is after all equal to, want to take a parameter range start, and is before or equal to, is before, sorry, when you go with is before or equal to, you'll get duplicate data. Is before and select the parameter. Here it is what? Range end. Between the dates, if you have any data, you'll get it. So when you click on close and apply, and once after loading the table to the Power Pivot, what is another step you need to go? You need to go to factory seller sales table, right click on it. This, whatever you did in Power Query, this was just dummy, just to bring the subset of data. Actual thing is what? Where? This time actual thing will be there. So you can on this, and first time when I load it, how many years data I want to load? 20 years data. From subsequent, how many days data I want to refresh? 10 days. In the 10 days also, only change in records. If you want to refresh, detect data changes and select the last update date. If you want to refresh only complete dates, then you want to check the second option. Click on apply all, click on publish, and click on share. So you want to know one more thing here. One limitation with incremental refresh is, so the dataset which you publish to Power BI service, it is not possible to download it, and it is not possible to make the changes. So already I published a dataset to Power BI service, right? Somewhere here I mentioned. So here I mentioned refresh policies are defined in Power BI desktop, and they will be applied by refresh operations in service. It is not possible to download the PBX file containing an incremental refresh policy from Power BI service. If you have incremental refresh policy applied in any data set, can we download the data set to Power BI service? How can you download this data set to Power BI service? More options. Click on download PBX. When it's a normal data set, you can download it. When it's an incremental data set, it is possible to download it. No, cannot export to the Power BI desktop format. So if you want to make any changes, so you want to save it in your local machine, you want to make this, it is not possible to bring back to the desktop. So you can make this, I saved it, I can make the changes, I can republish it, but I cannot download this from the service. I cannot make the changes in desktop again. That file, so be careful when you perform incremental refresh, save the file, save the dataset somewhere. So tomorrow when you are not saving this, it is not possible to download it from Power BI service. You cannot make the changes. When it is other data sets, can we download other data sets? Yes. When you are not defining incremental refresh, you can download it, you can make the changes. Fine guys. The next topic we want to discuss here is, let me stop this recording.